It's time for a chat with the one, the only Steve Clarke. It's time to go inside the game.
You know, there's so much happening inside the world of sports, and that's why we love getting there, and we like taking the expert to have us give us a little tour there. Good morning, Steve.
Good
How
morning,
are
Steve.
you?
And
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank the sporting news world not to change an up-head headlines like at about 8:50 a.m. on Monday. At least they decided to do it on a Friday night. Look, guys, new life for the Protect College Sports Act. As of late Thursday, the Big Ten and the SEC, well, they wouldn't endorse the bill as written. And it seemed nothing would pass and nothing would change because the authors of the bill had a Wednesday morning, that's last Wednesday morning, take it or leave it attitude. Congress is soon going on recess and had to go campaigning in the November elections. Now, late Friday night, after a series of changes and concessions and the White House getting involved, the Big Ten and the SEC agreed to a new form of a bill that ensured media rights pooling would be voluntary, that a new and raised cap would be subdivided for existing player retention pool of about $22.5 million. That's completely new. Another $21 million for whatever, and an additional $5 million pool of money for non-revenue sports. That's completely new. And then the College Sports Commission will now have some legal teeth for once to enforce a national rule book to veto NIL deals that don't reflect fair market value, to close corporate loopholes and actually enforce penalties for those that brazenly circumvent the new cap that's nearly double than the old one. So here's what's going to happen. Later today, Senate Majority Leader John Thune is going to file for cloture on this bill in the Senate before the recess on August 7th. The Senate needs 60 votes to pass the act and to avoid a filibuster. They seem to have that, or at least they think they do. The House will then have to vote on this as well. It is a bipartisan bill written by Senator Ted Cruz from Texas and Senator Maria Cantwell out of Washington State. It might bring some sanity back to college sports, but I guarantee nothing gets passed without lawsuits. The only thing that remains undefeated isn't Indiana football, but unbillable hours.
Yeah. My goodness. And by my count, that's 48 mil per school. So you're 22 million.
Yes.
So that's the cap, 48 million, but that's per school. But if you're looking at 22 million dollars for players, Steve, we've already got some schools that are exceeding that on an annual basis, right?
Well, that's right. So now what you have is you've got a $22.5 million for retention of existing players.
Okay.
Then you can go out and do 21 million of grabbing players from other schools. In addition to that, then the $5 million for the much needed non-revenue sports who many people fear would just completely go away. So boy, when the NCAA and Congress actually want an act, they can actually do it very quickly. But I think they spend like 99% of the time posturing.
Yeah. Now, it sounds like it's pretty well crafted, though.
Well, they've had a lot of time to negotiate and talk with it. This wasn't, one meeting, but it certainly got a lot done. Now, I told you about unbillable hours being undefeated. Here to make a muck of things. A Colorado judge late Friday night at the same time granted a nationwide, class-wide preliminary injunction that includes immediately, awards fifth-year eligibility to all Division I college athletes from the high school graduating class of 2022.
Wow.
In doing so, the judge believes the plaintiffs in a regular case would ultimately win, and that waiting for a case to play out would do irreparable harm to the plaintiffs, which is why this injunction has been filed. Why? I really don't know. When you make changes to the rule books, it has to start sometime. There are winners and losers. But now everybody who basically thought they had run out of college eligibility, according to this Colorado judge, says you can play for them next year. The NCAA, of course, plans to appeal and have made several messages to that point over the weekend. But as of right now, athletes are trying to figure out if their time in college football is over or not.
Oh, my goodness.
As teams begin to start practice this week. By the way, the House settlement mandated roster size limits. So Alabama can't all of a sudden have 150 players on their roster anymore. And every roster limit in football is basically set to the max anyway. So if anybody gets invited to come back because it's doing irreparable harm for the people who have already played, say goodbye to a couple of either walk-ons or freshmen or sophomores that aren't getting it done at the bottom end of the totem pole. They're being told as they're buying books today that they may not have a spot on the team. So,
and for some of these fifth-year
Yeah.
players, Steve, this is big, right? Because there's money associated with that extra year.
that's right. So this can get really messy. And if the College Sports Act passes, there's a less likely a chance that a district judge or a state legislature can disrupt the entire system, which seems like has happened over the weekend.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm so tired of all of this, this law, then this injunction, then, I can't keep it all straight in my head.
Yeah, well, you and me both, Pat, and there are 50 states and other territories that could probably do the same thing. Now, here's where Dave is going to rejoice. Big Ten Media Days was last week, and it's a sign that the actual season is getting started.
Oh.
The Big Ten doesn't have an official media and coaches vote on the preseason standings, but that didn't stop the good people at Cleveland.com to get us an unofficial one. Not endorsed by the conference. Essentially, they organized asking select members of the media representing all the university football teams and the ones that they cover to have an informal vote on who they think will win the conference. A practice, by the way, that could end if there's a 2014 playoff and decide to basically cancel championship conference games in the future. But I digress. Here's what Dave wants to know.
Let me give the listeners a hint of who came in at number one. I'll just give you a two-letter hint. OH.
You're not getting me to.
We tried.
I'm not falling into that trap. Yes, but Dave is right. The Buckeyes are number one according to the informal poll. Oregon is at number 2 and Indiana is number 3. Now, I've done deep dives into Oregon and Indiana already, and on paper it seems to be very close. I start working on Ohio State next week for those that listen to me outside Ave Maria and Annunciation. But Oregon and Indiana do not play one another. After having played each other twice last season, Ohio State plays them both.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, the Buckeyes have one of their toughest schedules that I've seen, having to go to Texas, host Oregon, road trip into Indiana and USC, who's expected to be 4th in the Big Ten, all before hosting Michigan at the end of the season. Bottom line, Ohio State's playing the top 4 other teams rated in the conference in this season. It's going to be a tough schedule for the Buckeyes.
Oh, bring it on. It's going to be fun. And look, I'm so excited because we can say it. We've got 5, 6 really good teams in the Big Ten, and you got to love that.
Thank you, Steve Clarke.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.